Please pray with me. God, give us grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right. If I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. Please be seated. Do you recognize that prayer? What is it? Serenity prayer. Thank you very much. And it has a long history. But who has co-opted the serenity prayer? AA, an NA, an OA, anything with an A at the end has co-opted it, right? It's a very powerful prayer in these meetings. Now, they have changed some of the language. The Jesus language has been dropped for the most part to make it more comfortable for people who are not Christian or people of faith in that way. But nonetheless, the gist of the prayer is still there. This past Wednesday, our diocese had a meeting called by the bishop at the diocesan house at the cathedral in Manhattan. Our cathedral and our diocesan house are on Amsterdam Avenue between 110th and 113th Street, near Morningside Park. Beautiful area. Once not so beautiful, but very much becoming gentrified again. All of the priests were invited to a series of talks about alcohol and the Episcopal Church. Of the 400 priests in our diocese, about 100 showed up. I was a little disappointed there wasn't a bigger crowd, but I'm sure people had obligations that kept them away. It's a fascinating conversation. And the reason that this started came out of two occurrences. On December 27th, 2014, the Bishop Suffragan of Maryland, Heather Thomas, a new bishop, was drunk and texting and driving when she hit a 41-year-old cyclist, father of two young children, and killed him. But it does not stop there. She drove away. Her windshield was bashed in, no mistaking what had happened. She got home, she called her canon, and the canon said, "You must go back. You must go back to the scene of the crime." Shocking that this has happened. You see, bishops go through an intense process. It's 100 times more intense than what you go through to find a new rector. When you go after a new rector, you have surveys, you answer questionnaires about what kind of person you want or where you think your church is going. Then you get a search committee, and they post an ad for people to apply. And then it gets narrowed down and narrowed down and narrowed down. And then your vestry selects your next rector. In a diocese, when you're doing a bishop, it's much grander than that. But there is still a search committee. Heather Thomas told that search committee that in 2010, she had had a DUI. And that she had gone to rehab. And that she had control of her addiction. They took her at her word, and they said, "We give you the voluntary opportunity to tell the diocese this when they come to vote on you to be our bishop suffragan." She chose not to do that. She had that option. She said, "This is a private matter. I have it under control." And they did not tell the diocese as a whole in Maryland her situation. She was very popular. She was the front runner. Her father, for decades, had been a rector in Maryland. And she was elected Bishop Suffragan in 2013. Consecrated in 2014. At her consecration, the Bishop of Maryland noticed prior to the service that he thought she was drunk. Prior to her consecration. But he did not stop the process. He let it go forward. He has since said one of the greatest mistakes of his life. He said he thought too much had happened to stop it already. So she was consecrated, put under tremendous pressure as all bishops are. And that fateful day, December 27th, when she killed a husband and a father. Now, her case is winding through the courts. She has been deposed as Bishop Suffragan of Maryland. That entire diocese is in upheaval. It has been a sad time for them and for the whole country in the Episcopal Church that's aware of this. But to let you know that we are not untouched by this. A few months ago, a priest at the cathedral, someone I know and went to seminary with, was arrested driving home at the end of a Friday in the Holland Tunnel because she had been scraping her car along the wall, shooting off sparks, and she too was drunk. The pressures are there. She had not gotten help. These things came glaring out as shortcomings in our church. The Episcopal Church has a history of alcohol and alcohol use. Perhaps you've seen on PBS one of the great masterpiece theater shows where they show the Anglican priests in London having their sherry right after service or just before service. I have been in churches where they've had full open bars at church events. I have certainly been in churches where they serve beer and wine. I know how this goes. There's a dreadful joke that I will tell, and I hope no one laughs. Wherever four Episcopalians are gathered, there's a fifth. We should never laugh at that joke again. Its day has come and gone. Alcohol is a concern. Now you might, at this moment, be thinking to yourself, but Jim, we just had the cabaret Friday night. You, yourself, went down to Peck's and got the wine for that evening. And I did indeed. And there are people who are uncomfortable with that. There's a wide range of reactions. There are churches with that open bar concept, and there are churches with zero tolerance for alcohol. And I've tried, with much thought and much prayer, to find a middle ground for that. We have 6 AA groups that meet at this church. By and large, the members of those groups do not attend our church. They use this place as their community center. We throw open our doors and we welcome them. Hundreds come here every week. On Friday is the biggest celebration. It's their monthly or weekly or yearly recognition for people who have remained sober. In respect of that, I did not go and get the wine until after that meeting was done. Not because I thought they'd be tempted, just out of respect. I don't need 3 cases of wine to be sitting in the kitchen during their meetings. These decisions are made with great thought and care. It's not cavalierly done when we invite alcohol in here. There's an opportunity to model, not just for our young people, but for our community, the proper use of alcohol in the culture. And that's what I hope we try to do. This is not a hard and fast rule. I love comments. I want comments. I want you to share those with me to continue to evolve on this situation. I'm very, very conscious of it when teenagers are around, that they understand the proper use of alcohol, and in their future, we can't pretend it doesn't exist. It is indeed there. And indeed, we serve alcohol right here in the Lord's Supper, don't we? It goes all the way back to when Jesus did it. There are ways to do that that are respectful to people who are working on their sobriety. It's called in kind. If you take the wafer, you do not have to touch the wine. You don't have to intink. You do not have to sip. You have received the host. You have invited Jesus in by just taking the wafer. If you want to come forward and just cross your hands, the chalicist knows to move on. It's a simple message. You can come forward and just cross your hands and I will do a blessing if you would like that as well. That's how we accommodate and work with people who are working so hard on their sobriety. This is not an easy issue, but I think the church has the opportunity to say something within our ranks and within our community. That's one of the reasons I'm such a proponent of the AA groups that meet here. I always want to be an open door for people who are in recovery. But I want to go a step farther. I was very inspired by the Wednesday conference that I attended, listening to people who have been in recovery, priests and bishops, stand up and share their story. So to that end, the second Sunday of Advent in the evening, I will have a special Eucharist service here. The Eucharist service will be tailored for people who themselves are in recovery, or for family members of people in recovery, or for people who have lived with family members that are alcoholics or drug abusers. I think it'll be a powerful service. The prayers of the people take the 12 steps that AA has made so famous, and they weave them together. The prayers are beautiful. And it'll be a wonderful, supportive evening. I hope that you will consider coming to support these people, if not your own self, in these services. But in the meantime, as we face this as a church, as we face the impact that alcohol and drug abuse have in our world, we do so with charity and kindness, and also the recognition of the fact that we live in a world where wine and beer and alcohol are served. And that people can model and indeed use it responsibly as we respect those who choose not to. Again, my door is always open. I'm always looking for new ideas on how to navigate this. So please share. Amen.